I'm taking the UConn Huskies this week.
Now I'm regretting bringing you on the show, man.
Welcome back to episode 8 of Mat's Madness. We're going right along and just about at the midway point of the season now. We have two very special guests joining the show today with Matt, former Syracuse defensive back and current sports reporter in the Rochester area, Carl Jones, and also Chandler Boucher, a UConn grad. He wanted me to let y'all know the 4-time champion UConn Huskies. How are you guys doing today?
I'll go first. I'm all right, man. Enjoying this beautiful weather we got in the Rock. A smooth 5 degrees.
Don't mean that.
No, I don't mean it at all. It's terrible. But, I'm just blessed to be a part of what y'all got going on over here. I'm a big fan of the both of y'all, and I'm just happy that y'all invited me on.
How you doing, Chandler?
Things are great. Just enjoying college basketball right now. College football is over. So anyone who's a fan of college sports, finally onto the better of the two sports, basketball. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I like that. Matt, you ready to get swept by these dudes in debates today or what?
When I started this show, I was like, I'm looking forward to taking everyone down. And it kind of, from episode 1, just turned into people making fun of me. So you know what? It's still Matt's Madness. It's the namesake, but I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever.
All right, guys, let's get into it. So we're just about at the halfway mark, like I pointed out earlier. So to this point, which teams have proven the most that we'll see them down the line in the Final Four?
Carl, if you want to start first.
So for me, y'all know I'm the college basketball connoisseur. Y'all know, no, I'm kidding. But y'all know I love college ball and I'm not as in deep with it as Matt is, but I like to, try to pick his brain a little bit and try to see if I can put some of his buttons. But for me, there's been 4 teams that have stood out this year. Obviously, I'm gonna go with my not with my Zags, but I go with the Zags. They obviously made it to the title game last year and kind of picked up where they left off. Drew Timme, obviously a Player of the Year candidate kind of guy. Chet Holmgren came into the season a lot of promise, and he's proven that he's still a hell of a player. And also some of the others like Julian Strother and Andrew Nemthard. Obviously, the thing with them is that they're in conference play. It's kind of hard to tell where they're at, but I mean, you can't argue with their record, and we'll see. You can't argue with talent as well, and they have a ton of that. So I'm not gonna dim any of their light whatsoever. So I feel as if they're a team that can go far. I don't know how far. I don't know if they can win it all, but I have confidence in that squad. Coming into the season, I was a big UCLA guy, Johnny Juzang. That really his turning play last year really. Maybe a big fan of his, and I'm still a big fan. Obviously, they haven't maybe had the exact season that they wanted to have, but I'm going to roll my guys until the wheels fall off in that regard. And then also, if you know anything about me, I love the NBA, so I had to tune into Auburn a little bit this year. And, man, I can't lie. I really love what I'm seeing out of them, especially with their head honcho, Jabari Smith. They're a team that gets up and down the floor. You can watch some SEC ball, and that style of play is a little different down there in terms of how aggressive they play on both ends of the floor. So I like Auburn. And then also, it's going to pain me to say this being a Big Ten guy, but Wisconsin has really, really looked good, especially behind the play of Johnny Davis. So if I had to pick 4 teams right now that I would think will make it to the Final Four, it would be those 4.
Carl, I got 2 of those, so I think we did pretty good there. The first team I wrote down was Auburn. At the beginning of the season, and Talha, we went over this last time. Remember I mentioned Jabari Smith. I'm going to keep mentioning Jabari Smith until Auburn either gets knocked out or wins the whole thing, because I really think he's the real deal. So the Tigers are right up there. And obviously, when you're a top 2 team in the country, our voters for CBB Review rank them first over Gonzaga. So, I mean, we could say they're the top team in the country. But then I got 2 Big Ten teams. And I know the Big Ten, I feel like last year, same thing happened. So many great teams kind of fell down once the tournament got going. But Purdue, even though they've lost some questionable games, I still don't know how most teams in the country are going to match up with a team like the Boilermakers that just has so many just big guys down low. I know, Chandler, you saw them. You've seen them firsthand. And then I got Wisconsin as well because of Johnny Davis. Again, I mean, he right now has been like the biggest, probably the best player in the Big Ten overall. You could have said Keegan Murray for a while. Now that Johnny Davis is getting going, and I know they lost to Michigan State, but just what he's been able to do, he looks like a pro player. He looks like he could be in the NBA right now. And my 4th team, they're on a little bit of a skid themselves. That's Baylor, the Baylor Bears. And that's where I see Carl went with Gonzaga. So I had to take the other team that actually won the national championship last year. And Baylor, they lost a lot of players, but they've been tuning it up. Again, on a little bit of a skid, but overall they've been great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll start off my breakdown, I guess, saying that this debate show, it's two big J's here. I'm just a man of the people. I'm just a fan of college basketball. So if you want to use me as a punching bag for bad takes, go for it. I like you guys. Some of the top teams kind of obvious, maybe whether it's Baylor, reigning champs, coming back. I'm not too worried about those weird losses. Big 12 is a really good conference. I also have Gonzaga. As much as I hate them and I want to see them flame out at some point, they're just too good. They scored. There was like 3 straight games of over 110 points. Their offense is unbelievable. Auburn, I agree with them as well. They're so good. Only one team has beaten them this year, and I think we all know what team that is. I won't go into that just yet. I'll save that UConn fandom for later. But Jabari Smith is insane. He's going to be a lottery pick. He's so good. His shooting is incredible as well. And the SEC is turning out to be a pretty good conference. Again, another pick that I have that I wasn't really mentioned. I'm going to go with Duke. I think Paolo Banchero is really good. Obviously going to be another lottery pick. They have some depth, but I think the strongest thing they have going for them is the Coach K narrative that this is his final year. It's just one of those like fairy tale endings, unless, it's very polarizing. Maybe the fairy tale ending is they don't even make it out of the first round. Who knows? But I think they are Final Four caliber. And I also want to throw out a couple honorable mentions. Purdue was mentioned. The Big Ten, once it turns March 10th, they suck. The Big Ten as a conference, terrible. So Purdue, if there was a team from the Big Ten, I think it's Purdue over Wisconsin, because Wisconsin relies way too much on Johnny Davis. Purdue is a really exciting team. Are they going to get upset by a 15 or a 14 seed again? Probably, because that's just how the Big Ten goes. And another honorable mention, I'm going to say Kansas. 5 of their next 6 games are against ranked opponents. If they come out of that gauntlet with, let's say, even 3 wins, if they go 3-3 over their next 6 games, they're going to be right up there. But if they come out 5-1, I mean, they're going to be looking really good.
Chandler, you asked for it. You said to go at you, and I'm going to go at you with one of those, and that's Duke. And this is my own theory. I think that if the Blue Devils weren't the Blue Devils and didn't have Coach K as their coach, if we just looked at these teams as the blind eye test, I don't know if Duke's in the top 15 right now. I really don't. And I think you made some good points there. Again, I'm not going to defute your points. I mean, Banchero is a great player, and they got Trevor Keels and whatnot. They have a good lineup. They definitely are a team that's going to make it a few rounds. But if I'm looking at Final Four teams, and again, the question, let's go back at the question. The question was, which teams have proven the most? I feel like you're just guessing there, buddy. I don't know. I just feel like you're just guessing because I don't see what they've proven, but, you can take that.
Well, listen, I'm going to pick out 4 random teams out of a hat, and I bet I get more right than you guys as a Final Four, because that's how college basketball works, okay? So there's that. All right, let's just move on, guys. Let's talk individual fellas now. So a lot of players have been very productive throughout mid-January. When you look at the talent pool in college basketball, if you had to pick a Wooden Award winner today, right now, who would you go with?
Not going to lie to you, and y'all, and once again, I'm going to make this very apparent. I am pro ball and through. So everything that I look through is through a pro ball lens. And once again, I brought this player up earlier, but big time players make big time plays in big time games. And that boy up in Wisconsin, Johnny Davis, has done that throughout the halfway mark of this season. And I mean, the biggest evidence of that is his game at Purdue. I mean, 37 points is just ridiculous. I mean, obviously there's less possessions in college basketball than there is in the NBA. So I think people have to realize how many points 37 really actually is, an efficient 37 at that. He's 6'5", around 200. So he's a big dude. I mean, look, Wisconsin isn't known to be a basketball powerhouse. Obviously, they've been really, really good over the past decade. So it's not like they're like slouches or anything of that sort. But like they're not really known for their guard play in that area. And man, he has this team top 10 in the country for a reason, man. He's legit. There's obviously a bunch of players. Obviously, Paolo is one of my favorite players to watch. So how skilled he is there at Duke. And obviously, Jabari is doing just watching him for just 10 minutes, and you can just tell he's going to be a stud 5-10 years in the league for a long time. But for me, I'm going to look through the NBA lens, and man, Johnny Davis looks like one of them ones.
I like that.
When you look at coming into the season, I feel like the talk was Drew Timme, Chet Holmgren. You could go both those boys on Gonzaga. Paolo Banchero, like Chandler mentioned earlier. I feel like Ochai Agbaji on Kansas was another one. He's still been good, but you get the point. Right now, I've forgotten about all those players because of the guy Carl just mentioned, Johnny Davis. And I guess I don't need to go into it as much because you just sold it right there. And, I know that there's a lot of good players out there in college basketball this season, but if there's one that I want the ball in his hands at the end of the game, not even at the end of the game, just to make plays, be a playmaker, score the ball, get other guys involved, that's Johnny Davis. So, yeah, I mean, he's my Wooden Award player right now.
Yeah, that Johnny Davis, incredible. He's been red hot, probably the hottest player in the country over the last 2-3 weeks. Not trying to demean, I guess, the topic here, but the Wooden Award to me, not that it doesn't mean anything, but it ends up going to just it feels like a popularity contest in college basketball. I think, other ones you could throw out there, Jabari Smith, Paolo Banchero. It's hard because with college basketball, there's such varying degrees of competition. I think the Big Ten, Johnny Davis, he's red hot. Like Carl mentioned, 37 points against Purdue. That's going to be, at the end of the year, you look back on it, that's the marquee performance. But I think it goes to one of those heavy hitters, of Banchero, Jabari Smith, Johnny Davis. It's going to go to one of those guys. It's going to go to one of those guys that has that NBA potential. And that's where I feel like the award goes to most years. So that's where I stand on that.
So real quick then, what do you think that – I guess it's for everyone. Sorry, Talha, for taking over your hosting duties. But what do you think Johnny Davis needs to do then to get the award if you think it's really going to go to one of the heavy hitters?
I think Wisconsin needs to continue playing well. I think they're 8 right now, but it's hard to tell if it's like a roller coaster where they're just rising to the top real quick and they fall off. I kind of relate it to completely different things, but I kind of relate it to the NBA MVP award, where it's like Russell Westbrook had 7 straight seasons, 30 years straight of just triple doubles. It doesn't even matter how many he gets, but the Thunder needed to have 1 year where they were just a respectable team for him to get the MVP. I think it's kind of similar with the Wooden Award. It's you can be a MVP of the Horizon League, but your team isn't nationally recognized. You're not going to, get that award. I think Wisconsin needs to keep playing well, be a top 2 team in the Big Ten, either, maybe take a regular season or Big Ten tournament title. And then he can definitely be a finalist for that.
I can get behind that.
We good? All right. Let's keep moving on, guys. So when you guys look at the status of college basketball going forward this year, what's one, and this is how college basketball works. We're talking about the Final Four and we're making our picks for the Wooden Award and all this stuff, but it's always an underdog, a sleeper team that we have to keep. And it's not just one, so you guys can mention more than one, but what's a sleeper team to keep an eye on that can join the Final Four discussions by March?
So for me, this is a team that I don't know about their I guess the legit ceilings per se, but I know that they've been struggling of late. When you watch them play, their box office, they're fun to watch. They get up and down the floor, they get in your face. And as long as they can, I guess, cut back on their turnovers and play a little bit more, I guess, normal style of play, that's gonna be the Alabama Crimson Tide. They struggled of late. They lost 3 out of their last 4. But when it comes to a one and done style tournament, you just need a couple guys to get hot at the right time, and Alabama can get them things up. They play great defense. They get up and down the floor. Obviously, they got Jay Vine with his flash and how he can, I guess, move the ball up and down the court. Jaden Shackelford. I mean, they're not playing well of late. They obviously struggled and lost a heartbreaker to Auburn. But if I had a team that can maybe get hot at the right time, that's not necessarily getting any love right now, I think Alabama has some components that makes them a difficult out in March.
Yeah, I gotta get behind that. I mean, the Crimson Tide. It's hard to say that they're not a team that could make it to the Final Four and be with those boys. I mean, they had that win over Gonzaga. So to me, yeah, you're spot on. I'm gonna go all the way out west. Hopefully, I pointed to the west.
All the way.
That's right. To Eugene, Oregon.
It's that way.
But
whatever. Just go.
I'm going with the Ducks of Oregon, who started off the season with a 30-point loss to BYU. lost to Arizona State, lost to Stanford, didn't look good. Then they only lose to Baylor by 8, and their most recent wins, 3 points in overtime at UCLA, 10-point win at USC. That's 2 top 5 wins in a week. So to me, Oregon is a team that came into the season with pretty good expectations. I feel like a lot of people thought that Oregon was going to be right up there in the Pac-12, myself as one of them. So maybe that's why I'm still kind of on that bandwagon. But, I mean, you got some guards in Will Richardson, Davion Harmon, Quincy Guerrier comes over there, and Folly Dante is finally healthy, and you see what he's been able to do, averaging 9 points and 6 rebounds. He's finally getting on the court, playing these big minutes for this Ducks team. I just think it was a team that had to deal with so many transfers. Now it's kind of coming together. They still got to get some wins there because I'll be honest, Alabama, and I'm not saying this is like, they're definitely a good sleeper pick. I mean, Alabama right now, probably not even a top 4 seed, a 5-6 seed. So that's a great pick. But Oregon, I'm a little bit worried because who knows if they're in the tournament right now. I mean, they've had some pretty bad losses. They might be looking at like a 10 or an 11 seed. So I guess I got to wait on that a little bit more. But I think if Oregon gets there, they could certainly go on a run, and they got a great coach in Dana Ullman.
Certainly like both of those picks, but this is where, from a point of view, I'm going to really differ from you guys. You guys, this is your jobs, this is your careers. You have to be unbiased. You have to pick teams, Northeast guys got to go out West. No, I'm from Connecticut. I'm picking the UConn Huskies as a sleeper. I wouldn't be doing my job as a fan of the sport if I didn't use this platform to talk about the UConn Huskies. Talk about a sleeper team. It depends on your definition of sleeper. They've been in and out of the bottom of the top 25 for most of this season. They went through a brutal COVID pause. They went through 2 of their best players, Tyrese Martin and Snogo, getting injured. They had the amazing win against Auburn, which is, as of right now, game of the year, if not second game of the year, would be at Seton Hall overtime loss. 2 incredible games. One's a loss, obviously. They've had a lot of close games, but when they're at full strength, they're an incredible team. So much depth, and obviously they have the history in March. They have the experience. Dan Hurley at URI had a little bit of a breakout performance in March, getting a big win in the first round. I think that UConn, big-time sleeper.
Chandler, now I'm regretting bringing you on the show, man. Is UConn going to play anyone else? Are you going to play anyone else but Butler or what? Like, are you just going to keep Butler all season long?
Man. Oh, man.
Matt, I'm sorry that there's a pandemic going on. We can't really decide our own schedule. I know this has got to be the only reason you brought me on the podcast is to talk about UConn. I mean, you've got everything covered. You're a fan of like 17 college basketball teams.
Ooh,
so it's up to, when you're a
fired.
diehard fan of one team and we're getting slept on a little bit. I don't even think it's getting slept on. I wouldn't put UConn that high up in the rankings right now because we have to prove ourselves. But the Big East has incredible competition. They're going to get those games in against ranked opponents. They're going to get those solid road games in, and they got to perform and they got to win those games, and they'll start climbing up a little bit.
Carl, you look like you had something to say.
I was going to say the same exact thing. Obviously, as you know, my homeboy is a coach at Xavier, and we could talk shop about the Big East a little bit. And he's always like, yeah, UConn, like, because a lot of their big-time games have been canceled, no one really knows if, like, they've had a great win at Auburn early on. I mean, not at Auburn, but against Auburn early on. But outside of that, you don't really know what the Huskies are for real. So it's just like, I hear you. Good sleeper pick. By definition, we really don't know their potential yet. But man, we really don't know nothing about the Huskies. But we're gonna find out real soon. The Big East ain't no slouch for a reason.
Yeah, I don't know. You might have to bring back Kemba Walker or something. I don't know. We'll see. So no Mississippi State, no Colorado State, no Oklahoma State. I'm going with Richmond. Stop playing. I'm going with Richmond. That's gonna cut out the show, guys. All right, well, that's gonna do it for this edition of Matt's Madness. Hope you enjoyed the show. Follow CBB Review on Twitter @CBB Review. We'll see you next time.